I mean, you're just really a fun actor to watch. So
I'm still reoccurring on Criminal Minds, and
we hope that becomes permanent. So.
What's that?
And we hope that becomes permanent.
Yeah, that'd be great. I have an episode airing on this Wednesday, and then wait, how did you put it?
He has a 3-episode arc on Private Practice as an antagonistical character. I've been giving his pitch.
No, I just like the way that you said it this morning.
That's right.
Like a very bad man on Private Practice. So yeah, to be honest with you, I got complacent with my representation because I'd had him for such a long time. So I cleaned house about 4 months ago. So it's so we're getting the, if you get complacent in Hollywood, and I'm just kind of loyal to a fault, and so I'm having to kind of deal with that now. But I've made changes. I think it's going to become different. Yeah. Thanks.
So hypothetically, tomorrow you wake up and Buffy is real. You're on top of the Hellmouth. Would you still want to be your characters? Would you want to be somebody else? Why?
Could I be on top of Buffy?
And you'd have to call her Hellmouth, yeah.
The cake topper?
The icing? Hey, you look like you need some icing. What? Wow.
Don't take it to the next one.
Okay, so what character?
Yeah, would you still be Xander? Or would you still be
Absolutely.
Glory? All right,
I
why?
would.
Why would you still be Xander?
Because he was awesome. He was the best character in the show, in my personal opinion. Because he doesn't have any superpowers. I love the fact that he didn't have any superpowers.
Yeah, he was sarcastic about that.
And sardonic.
Sarcasm makes the world go round.
What's that?
Sarcasm makes the world go round.
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
It was very mixed too.
Thank you. Just see it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I would absolutely be the same guy.
Thank you. What about you?
I might run a little bit faster.
Well, I mean, as far as Glory, and I couldn't imagine myself playing any other role in the show. I mean, she was such an amazing character and probably the most interesting character I've had in my career. And I definitely, for that show, every character had its place, and she had her little moment in the sun. So I loved playing her. I could never give her up.
this question is for Nikki. When you first got the role of Xander and got cast, can you talk about what were some of the things that surprised you and challenged you working on the show, as a regular on the show? And what were some of the things you expected that challenged you, and what were some of the things that you didn't expect that challenged you?
Well, I was really surprised I was getting a paycheck to act. It was that. I remember when we were doing Teacher's Pet and I was chained up, and there's, I think on the outtakes, it's the director's talking to, I'm chained up, and there's a giant gray man that's here, and it's there, and the director's giving the direction, and I'm like, I look back, you talking to me or the bug, So when you're in these situations, of whether, we're eating the school mascot, it was so different and so out there that I didn't have time to think about it, It was just more of just a reaction.
Was there anything that stood out in your mind as being you had to adjust to in the process?
No, I didn't know anything about acting at that time. I'd never shot in front of the camera.
Which is probably a blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
A lot of times when you work in this genre of sci-fi or fantasy, a lot of artists go into it with a preconceived notion that they have to change their style of acting and they have to change, all these things in order to fit the
I didn't
genre.
know what a mark was.
Yeah, it was my first television job too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But actually, the more accurate way to approach genre material, in my opinion, is to be completely as if it were just natural and the norm, because in that world it is, so you can't really, if you change your acting style, you're not really being true to the character, in my opinion. So.
I want to ask a question related to that. When you were doing the scenes with Ben, physically, how did that work? How did that whole acting experience?
Well, that was, that was a very technical process. Whenever we would like morph back and forth, they would, we'd overlap each other's dialogue, and so I'd, do my dialogue as Glory, and then do the first maybe 2 or 3 lines of Ben's dialogue, and then they'd freeze us, and then, Charlie, who played Ben, was about like 1.5 feet taller than me, so then they'd, have him come in, and usually I'd be acting on like apple boxes, which are little crates that are used in the industry. They come in all different sizes, so maybe they'd stack 2 of them up for me to act on. Then I'd hop out, and he'd come in, he'd like take the exact same position. They'd do all these little marks so that when they got in the editing room, they would have points of reference to merge our faces and bodies. And then he'd start with some of my dialogue and go into his. And so every time that morph happened, it was like, kind of like an hour-long process, each little morph to do that. But it was a very technical type thing.
Sucks too. Say outline it, and it's like tilt your head to the right.
Yeah, like right, left, down, there, yeah, it's very.
Then you start shaking.
Yeah, like hold it right there.
Claire, did you know beforehand that your character was going to be split into 2 characters, and if you found out later, did that change your approach to the to your role? And then part 2 is, did you know that you were going to be doing fight scenes in high heels?
Okay, well, I'll answer the easy part of that. Yes, I did know I was going to be doing fight scenes in high heels, because the first episode I was in, I did, so it was kind of the norm. It kind of got set as the norm. As far as knowing my character's arc, no, I didn't, and I think that is one of the interesting things about, at least my experience on Buffy, is the writers kind of took it per episode and they listened to, fan feedback a little bit, at least in my circumstance they did, and kind of wrote, emphasized the character more or downplayed other aspects of the storyline as fans were more or less receptive to them. But yeah, no, each script I got, I was like, what's happening here? And then when I found out I was actually part of Charlie, I was like, damn, they should have told me that, because I could have done a better job of integrating some of his, physical traits or whatnot in the beginning of the character. But, whatever, it worked out, so.
Do you guys know if there's any future for the Buffy animated series?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I was shocked that didn't go. I mean, really shocked, and I don't know why. And I heard a story, because they had all of us doing it. I mean, outside of Sarah, but it was. I guess the rumor was that it was too expensive to do or something like that. But I was really kind of shocked that didn't. Is there like a little bit out there?
Yeah.
What is it like? I haven't seen it.
It's really good. It's on YouTube. You could just type in Buffy
Oh, really?
series and find it.
Yeah, no, I was shocked when I was told that it wasn't going any further. So no, I guess answer.
Hi, I was wondering, since DC Animation has used so many actors from Joss Whedon Productions, did they approach either of you to do voice acting for any of their TV shows or DVDs?
They haven't approached me.
But they do what now?
They're using a lot of actors from all the different Joss Whedon shows.
DC Animation does?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't been approached either.
Oh,
Yeah.
you should.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's
Yeah, when I was standing at your table, I heard something mentioned about a web comic or a web thing. I don't know if it's something you're writing or what is
yeah.
that?
This is
Did you see the koalas up here?
This is Irving. This is Avery. And they're very bad koalas. So go to verybadkoalas.com. Every Wednesday, we premiered last Wednesday. Every Wednesday for a year, we'll have a new comic, and it's going to follow the adventures of these little brutes.
Do you write it? Do you
I write
draw
it. I write it. My partner, we write it together, and then my partner draws it.
Okay.
He's big in the animated world, so he's kind of good at this. I feel bad for him because he really works his ass off, and I just kind of say, hey, let's take it in this direction, and give him some witty dialogue, and then it's like, and then he's like, he's also doing like a couple animated shows that he gets paid for Disney, and So he comes home from that and then draws that on my. And I'm like, what's taking you so long? You know, it's like 10:30. I've just gotten out of a bath. You know, I've surfed all day. I've done some yoga. God damn it, Steve.
If Josh were to call the whole crew into a 2-hour movie, what do you want us to sing, the newly single Xander doing, and also for Claire, if you were called in, whether you want to see your character from?
You know, my character, I'll tell you what, he would not be in construction. I'll tell you that. I don't wear, yeah, not in this market. And also, I just don't look good in hard hats. You know, I think probably it would go along the same lines as where the comic is, you know? I think that it would be, it kind of seems like I've become kind of the watchery character. And I would personally have, Claire would be under our glory. would be under my care and supervision.
Yeah. I'm sure Glory would just be doing more of the same, wreaking havoc and shopping and, you know, all those
That
good
sounds like
things.
Claire.
She kind of, well, interesting you say that.
We are going to go to right?
Yes.
Okay.
Friends and family sale, Bloomingdale's today.
So we have friends or family?
Nick, you had the opportunity to do an episode with your twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about how that came up? Did the episode come out of the fact that you had a twin brother?
Yeah, it was. I think they were always gonna use it. I was kind of shocked that when they did the doppelganger episode, I'm like, you know, you guys realize I have a twin brother, right? I didn't know, and I don't think they really believed it. And there was actually one day where I got sick and I couldn't go into work, and luckily I was just I was passed out in the back of the magic store, and my head was turned away from camera, so they allowed Kelly to come in because I needed to go to the doctor. And they said, wow, you guys really look a lot alike. And I'm like, yeah, so.
You're like, we are identical twins.
same egg, you know, split in half. So then they wrote that episode, and then Kelly started doing my stunts on the show too. So it kind of, yeah, I think having him come in, you know, and say, you guys really are twins. So yeah, then they wrote the replacements. And people always say, well, which one were you? Were you like the cool one, or were you like, you know, the schloppy one? I'm like, I was both. I just changed my outfit and just talked to myself, you know? Like, oh wait, I thought, so Kelly wasn't the schloppy and Kelly wasn't the cool one? I'm like, no, I was both. And people were shocked that I played both those characters and can sing and dance.
Hi, this is a question for both of you. Is it easier being the villain or the hero because of the villain has a, I guess, lack of a moral compass?
Is it easier being the villain or the hero? I think it all boils down at some point to the project and the parameters of the storyline. But for like character analysis, it's a lot of times more fun to be the villain, unless you're playing like a true life villain, like or you know, I don't know if you can. Well, I guess you know villain, but unless you're playing like Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody like that, where it's so sad and tragic that you almost go into a depression when you have to delve that deep into someone who really did exist and suffer this way. It's a lot more fun if you can completely create a character like Glory or whatever.
Like a cartoon villain.
Right.
In comparison.
Right. That is a lot more fun to me.
So your brother did your stunts.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how did he feel being the one that the producers thought, oh, this guy can get hurt, and make this okay?
He got paid really well for it, you know. He was just happy. He, the first stunt that he ever did for me, he dislocated or separated his shoulder. He'd missed something like they had this like catapult thing, and it was like there's too much because they do it like on an air pole thing, and they just put too much weight on it, and it just flew him.
He didn't land on the mattress.
No. And so I come out and I'm in my trailer about to take a nap, and I get a knock. I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, just want you to know that Kelly's okay. He just needs his back. He's going to the hospital. I'm like, what the fuck happened? And then, and the thing is that they fired him after that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? And then they